Hey, happy Father's Day. Like they already said, we're very thankful that you chose to spend at least a little bit of your Father's Day with us. Tyler said it perfectly. I was going to lead in that way, that today is a day to be really grateful. But it's also a complicated day because sometimes relationships with fathers are complicated, or maybe your father has passed away, or maybe it's just a tough situation right now. And one of the things that church families are meant to do, and you might not consider yourself a part of our church family, like for today you are, okay? If you never are again, like for the next few minutes you are, is we're meant to be able to bring complicated emotions together and share those. It's part of what being a family is, and part of what being a Jesus family is meant to be. So that's what we want to do, right? Grateful, sad, maybe concerned, maybe hurt, maybe full of love, all at the same time. And so we're just thankful to be able to do that together. I've got a few just information things I want you to know. All right, a building update. Guys, this week we have completed the flooring in the theater. Super excited about that. We'll have pictures for you soon. It looks so awesome. We are making progress. For those of you that have done a bunch of construction in the past, or watch people like me, watch people do construction in the past, you know that roughing in the plumbing and getting the electrical in there and all those things take so much time. And then you get to the fun part. And so we sort of turned that corner into the fun part. Very excited about that. Also want everybody here to know that we are doing baptisms at Lake Robinson this Wednesday night. And so if you are a follower of Jesus and you say, listen, I know that's who I am, but I've never been baptized before and I want to be. This is not a pressure thing, but I want to be. It's important for me to go public in my faith in that way. By the way, we don't do very much coming down front. Nothing wrong with that. There's a few reasons. One is if you come down front here at the YMCA, you may trip and break something. And so we don't want that to happen, okay? It's a little complicated. But you know that for years, the church, they haven't came down front, like for thousands of years that the church has been in existence. The way people went public saying, I'm giving my life to Jesus, I'm following Jesus, was by being baptized. So if you're interested in that, maybe you've recently done that and become a Christian, or maybe years ago and you just know it's the right thing. Here's what I want you to do. As soon as the service is over, meet me right here and I want to talk through baptism, how we do it, when we do it, where we do it. You can ask all your questions and then you can decide not to do it if you don't want to do it. It's no pressure, low pressure, zero pressure. But right after the service, you can meet me here. One other thing. All right, we got these cookouts coming up on July 6th. No Sunday morning service. So I need your help with something as we get ready for these cookouts. Now, here's what I need you to do, okay? I need all of you to prepare yourself to be decisive, okay? Be decisive. Just make a call. I'm going to ask you some questions. And I'm going to ask everybody to make a call to answer one way or the other. I'm going to start really easy, okay? And I really need you to do this. Now, to make it so super clear that you know exactly, here we go. Exactly, maybe it's just me. I'm hearing myself feedback, so I'm going to back up. Exactly when to say something, I'm going to say go. And when I say go, I want every person in the room to answer out loud. And if you do that, nobody else is going to hear what you're saying. So there's like no pressure, okay? But everybody's going to answer out loud. Very simple questions. Listen, the word of the day is decisive. Everybody ready to be decisive, okay? You ready? Don't answer till I say go. All right. Hamburger or hot dog? You ready? Hamburger or hot dog? Ready? Go. We go. Okay, good. So I'm listening. One of my skills is I'm used to being in classroom settings, so I can hear the noise among so hamburger, clearly the winner. Okay, you ready? All right, next up, we've got to decide what goes on the hamburger. So we're going to go onions or no onions. I know some of y'all hate onions, so you can say it with like a passion. You ready? All right, onions or no onions? Ready? Go. Onions, barely. Onions. All right, you ready? All right, here we go. Pickles. People feel very strongly about pickles, in case you don't know. This is it's almost as controversial as what kind of mayonnaise you like. So we're going to go, it's almost done. Pickles or no pickles, and say it with some conviction. You know what I mean? Like you mean it. So pickles or no pickles. You ready? Go. No pickles. Okay. All right, good. So here was the reason for that experiment. One is, we need to order more hamburgers than hot dogs, and we need some onions and Pickles. We get a few pickles. Okay. But the reason for that is this. For those of you that played along in that game and you said your answer out loud, almost without thinking, you were decisive in that moment. And did you know that whenever you make a decision quickly with confidence, that it increases your positive emotions? That might sound pretty nerdy, but have you ever heard of endorphins? Things that make you feel good? Making decisions makes you feel good. Like it gives you positive emotions. Now, you don't want to be dumb and make every decision in life, just impulsively, but that's the reason that impulsive people are like fun people, and they're happy sometimes until they get really sad because they made a bad impulsive decision, but because making decisions, being decisive, makes us feel good. It's really good. On the flip side of that, since we're in a mental health series, indecisiveness produces anxiety. When there's something that you need to make a decision about, when you need to make a call, am I going to take the job? Am I going to not? Am I going to go to which school am I going to go to? Should I date the person? Should I make this big decision in life or make this little decision in life? Even something as small as trying to decide what restaurant to go to after church today. Indecisiveness produces anxiety. And anxiety is not where we want to live. So what I want to do today is I want to give you, like humbly, a Christian's guide to making decisions so that you don't get stuck being indecisive about something that you should make a decision about. And if you made a decision about it, you would be less anxious and you'd be able to move forward in life. So that's where we're going to try to land today. All right, we're going out of Proverbs 3. I have never done a whole Sunday morning just straight out of the whole thing out of Proverbs. We're going to just read through some of this. It's really good. Proverbs chapter 3, I think, speaks into a lot of what we're talking about. And then at the end, I've got something that I'm so excited to tell you, I'm going to have a difficult time saving it for the end when it comes to decision making. Something that some of you, you need this so badly. It's going to take so much pressure off of you when it comes to the decisions that you've been thinking about. This is just going to absolutely free you up to make decisions, and you're going to walk out of here with weight off of your shoulders, but you're going to have to wait to the end. Okay, we're going to get there eventually. All right, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1. All right, this is written by a guy named Solomon, famous for his wisdom. The first several chapters of Proverbs are written. You know how sometimes when you want to make a point, you can make up a story, and you can be the narrator to make a point. These first few chapters are sort of written like that, and it's as if a father, an imaginary father, is speaking to his imaginary son. Now, maybe he really wrote this for his son, but it's clear that he's writing this for lots of people. So you could sort of imagine this is like fatherly advice on Father's Day, okay? But it's not just for sons, it's for daughters. So he says, "My son, do not forget my teaching, but keep my commands in your heart, for they will prolong your life many years and bring you peace and prosperity." All right. You want to know God's will for your life? God's will for your life is for him to show off his new creation through you. Now, I think what that means the majority of the time is that he wants to show off his riches and his kindness and his mercy and his grace through you. And I can sort of tell you that God's will for your life is for you to live in peace and for you to be blessed. Every once in a while, what it looks like to be blessed is what it looked like whenever Jesus was hanging on the cross. Every once in a while. And that's a weird kind of blessing, isn't it? I mean, that's a strange kind of blessing. That's the kind of blessing that when I pray for my family, I God bless our family, but if it be your will, here's literally what I pray for my family. You might want to adopt this. It might not be good. I pray, God, please, my family, I belong to you. My family belongs to you. Will you please bless us? Will you please use us to bless the people around us? And if you would possibly do that by good things, That would be so great. If you do that through good things, it'd be so great. Okay, but God's will for your life is that you would be healthy as much as it depends on you. And that God's will for your life is that you would live at peace as much as it depends on you. And God's will for your life is that you would, as much as it depends on you, do the things that would set you up to live a good life. Because normally God's plan for your life is to show off the future in the present through his people, which is us. And so what's the future look like in Jesus? It looks like health, and it looks like peace, and all these things that he talks about. But, it doesn't mean something's wrong with you when life happens, but this is the plan in general, to bring you peace and prosperity. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. We read that and we hear love and faithfulness and we're like, great, that sounds really good. When they would have heard love and faithfulness, here's what the original readers would have heard. They would have heard those were the promises that were made to our great-great-great-great-great-granddaddy Abraham whenever something called the covenant happened. A covenant's an agreement. And what happened in the covenant was this, is that God made an agreement with people. And he says, this is the contract, and I'm going to be faithful to see it through. And so these words, love and faithfulness, were always words that were attached to the covenant. And so listen, it's the idea of this, is God's going to show you love and faithfulness, not because you deserve it and not because you're great people, but because he signed a contract with your great-great-great-granddaddy Abraham. We as Jesus followers would say this. We would say he shows us his love and faithfulness because in some ways, if you've given your life to Jesus, you've signed a contract with Jesus and that you belong to the family now. And so let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man. There's another good prayer to pray for those of you with children. There's this verse in the New Testament that says that Jesus, when he was a child, was born, right? And it says that he grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and with people. That's a great prayer to pray for your family if you've got children. Like, I want my children to grow in wisdom and in stature. And I want my children to grow in favor with God. And I want my children to grow in favor with people. I want my children to be good with people. I want people to want to work with my kids and do things with I want my kids to be those kind of people. And so that's it, okay? So here's the verse, the kicker of the day that we're going to come back to. Verse 5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. I'm going to put verse 5 and 6 together. In all your ways submit to him and he will make your path straight. Some people have different strategies for memorizing Bible verses. I'm very strange. I'm not telling you the way I do this is right. It's probably wrong. It's just me. Some people like really sit down and try to memorize Bible verses. I'm a fan of that. If you can do that, that's fine. To me, that reminds me of school, and I hated school. Okay, so that I just can't. I have a hard time with that. So I'm going to tell you how I memorize verses. I try to memorize verses the same way I memorized my favorite lines in movies, accidentally, because I've watched it so much. For me, it's a great way, is that I want to read this thing so much. I want to hear these lines in my favorite movies so much that they just get ingrained in this sucker right here. They just get like, somehow they make it through my thick skull. I don't know what y'all's favorite lines are from. Maybe Talladega Nights, so there's some pretty funny lines in there. For those of you that are Will Ferrell inappropriate comedy fans, there's some lines, I just know them. I can't help it that I know them. I watched the movie too many times in my formative years, okay? I just know the lines. I don't know what to do with my hands. Okay, I know the lines. To me, that's it. But this is one of those verses that I have accidentally memorized. And the reason I accidentally memorized these two verses is not because I read them over and over and over and over again as a child. I've read them several times, many times as an adult. But I heard multiple people in my life say these verses whenever there were big decisions to make. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your paths. Man, that is such a valuable verse. Like, trust in the Lord with all your heart when you got to figure out what school to go to, when you got to figure out whether to date this person, when you got a big decision coming up, when you got to decide, should I retire? Should I take this job? Should I go back into the workforce? Should we have another kid? Should I do this? Should I do this? I mean, you got so many decisions to make. There's like, innumerable decisions in your life to make, and many of them are very important. Some of you today have walked in with decisions that have been forestalled. What I mean is that you should have made these decisions a long time ago. And these decisions are like weights on your shoulders. You may have even forgot about the fact that you've never made a call on something that you should have decided about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 months ago, 10 days ago, whatever the case is. But there's some decision that is still weighing on you because you haven't made it. So here's something I would like you to consider memorizing. For you probably are different than me, and you might need to spend some effort on this, or maybe I'll say it enough today that you'll begin to memorize it. Some of you might already even know it, but trust in the Lord with all your heart. And don't lean on your own understanding. That doesn't mean don't think. That's not what this verse means. This verse is not like a turn your brain off and pick up some God dice and roll them, okay? That is not what this verse means. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to tell you this. Y'all going to think I'm a heathen. You're going to think you should never come back to this church ever, ever, ever again. Wait to the end of the service, but hear me out. I think too many people might get hung up on figuring out God's will for that decision, to the point that you don't make the decision because you think the way God's will works is that you're supposed to have some God dice that you roll, and he gives you the answer. Now don't just hold tight. Get to the end of this thing, and I think it'll make sense. So you got a big decision to make. So like, what if you trusted in the Lord with all your heart, and what if you didn't lean just on what you understand? What if in every single area of your life and every single way of your life that you would acknowledge him and trust that he would direct your paths? Now, directing your path I love that phrase because it doesn't mean that he's going to tell you what to do every step of the way. It means that sometimes he's going to close doors, sometimes he's going to open doors, sometimes avenues will disappear that you can take, sometimes pathways will open up that you can take, that he's going to direct your path. That's a great verse. We're going to come back to that. I want to say it one more time because I don't think I can say this enough. Like, trust when you got a big decision to make. This is something you can apply to your life. You can hang it on your door. You can play it to yourself in your sleep. You can memorize it. You can write it down. You can start. How about this? Parents, you want to memorize something. Start telling it to your children. I've learned this a long time ago too. I heard this phrase that to teach is to learn twice. You want to become good at Algebra 1? Teach Algebra 1. You'll become good at it. You just will, even if you're not like a detailed person. You want to become good? You want to learn World War II history? Why don't you now your children aren't in here because they would hate me. Why don't you teach your children, I don't know, whatever. Listen, when you teach something, whether it's at work or whether it's in school or whether it's in church, you want to know a great reason for some of y'all to step up and consider leading a Bible study, even if it's not affiliated with one church, maybe just to start doing it. You want to know a great reason? Because to teach is to learn twice. One of the best ways to ingrain something is to teach it. It just is. And so maybe parents, you need to start preaching this to your children. Parents, there are very few greater gifts you can give to your children than to at least 3 or 4 times a year tell them, like, trust in the Lord with all your heart and don't lean to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him. Listen, and he will direct your paths. There is nothing greater you could do for your children, but surprisingly, in turn, there's not a whole lot of things you could do that would be better for you than to begin teaching your children that. Okay. I'm going to read it again just because I'm hoping that it sticks, right? All right, verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit or acknowledge him, different translations, and he will make your paths straight. By the way, if you're ever memorizing verses, the details really matter. But don't get hung up on is it submit or is it acknowledge? Was it or was it, just get the gist of it to start with. And I think it'll get ingrained in your mind. You know these are all translations from the original language. Now, I'm all into the details of translations. It's super important. But don't become defeated because you get a word wrong in something and then give up and become demoralized. Just dig into this thing. Okay, verse 7. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. I like the concept of being an expert. I'm not an expert. But there is some serious danger that comes with being an expert in anything. The danger of being an expert is arrogance, isn't it? And if you're an expert, you won't like this. But it's a serious danger. In fact, that's why people a lot of times don't like experts. Because when you become you think you know everything about something, you put blinders on and I don't care what your field of study, whatever thing you know the most about, pick your thing that you know the most about. There are more facts that you don't know than facts that you do know about that. If you can keep that front of mind, it's very helpful. Okay, so don't be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruit of your crops. I love that because the reason I like that is it's like take action. This is not just a mental exercise. This is not something just in your head. This is not just some spiritual journey you're going on. God didn't design you where the spiritual part of you matters and the physical part of you doesn't really matter. Like it all goes together. So the concept is whenever you think through these things, whatever the thoughts, whatever the principles, whatever the spiritual truths, whatever the things you take to heart, at some point you gotta act on them. Like practically with the decisions in your life. Then your barns, if you do this, will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. In other words, you'll experience blessing. All right, so here's a Christian's guide. You ready? Let's give you a couple things. The thought I had to lead in so that you can remember this is this. One of the worst feelings in the world as a kid, I had some neighbors that were older than me. Most of the boys in my neighborhood, I got one over here, they were older than me. They were just a couple of years. But when you're 11 years old and 8 years old, that's a big difference, right? When you're a kid. Can I tell you the worst game to play if you're not good at it, out of all the games in the world you could possibly play? This is the worst to play when you're not good at it. Tag. Think about it. When you get it and you can't unget it, that's an awful game to play. I mean, it really is demoralizing. It's like, I got it. I don't got it. Okay, how about him? There's no chance I'm gonna get him. And and just after soon you sort of quit because you realize there's no escaping this. And when I was thinking through in my life, the times when I've been indecisive, I thought it felt an awful lot like playing tag with somebody older than faster than me. Like where I'll chase them and I cannot get to the decision. I can't get to the thing. Because what is the thing that I want? The thing that I want is I want God to give me the answer. I want him to give me the answer. I got a big decision to make. Should I take the job? Should this college? Should we make this financial decision? Should we do that? Will you just give me the decision? And then I chase it. And usually God will not give you the decision. There's a reason for that. It's actually going to be a blessing for you. Occasionally, God will give you an answer. Just an answer. Just do this. But I think that's not normally the way it works. There's a reason for that. And it just becomes demoralizing. And we get a decision that we forestall, that we push back, because we can never tag off. We can never move beyond it. We can never catch it. We can never get the thing that we feel like we need to make a decision. And if you want to be anxious in life, I could ask y'all to raise your hand. Who wants to be anxious? Nobody wants to be anxious. But if you would like to be anxious in life, just be indecisive about something that you need to make a decision on. And it'll produce anxiety and you won't sleep well at night and all the things that go with it. And I can tell you God's will for your life is not that. I can tell you that point blank with confidence. God's will is not for your indecisiveness to produce anxiety. You might have worries of life. You might have tough times, but that shouldn't be the reason why. So here's 3 things. You ready? That you can do. All right, the first one is this. You can start in a position of thanking God. A position of, I think we got a tag up here, I believe. Oh, there we go, trust. I just went brain dead. Y'all, I did a wedding last night, and then our baby didn't sleep. And so we're getting it together. You ready? All right, so trust. All right, here's the concept. Start with T. You ready? Trust. not think. Blah, blah, blah. All right, trust. All right, trust. And here's the phrase that goes with this, is you've got this. Now, my least favorite phrase to hear in the whole world is when somebody says, you've got this. Because when somebody usually says, you've got this, they're trying to give you false confidence because you don't have this, you know? If you've ever got a friend that says, you got this, girl, you got this, boy, that means you probably don't have it, and they're just trying to pump you up and somehow hoping your enthusiasm can get you across the line anyway, not always the case. But here's the place to start. The place to start is to realize the decision that you've been making that's been worrying you and stressing you and causing anxiety in you is to take a step back in faith and to say, God, this thing's bigger than me, but you have it under control. Like, you've got this. I obviously don't have this. I obviously cannot make the right decision about what school to go to. I do not have enough information to decide whether to take the job, whether to retire, whether to date the person, whether to do whatever. I do not have enough, but you, God, have enough information to make this decision. You've got this. You are bigger than this. Take a deep breath, homeboy. This is not all on you. You don't have to be an expert in the billion different variables in life that you need to know in order to make the right decision. Like, how about this? How about lean not into your own understanding? What if we said, I'm going to acknowledge God in this thing and to admit that He is God and I am not God. And I'm important and there's a part He wants me to play, but wouldn't that be a great place to start? To say, like, I trust you, God, when it comes to this decision. I don't know what to do with my kid. This is a hard situation. I don't know what call to make. Should I come down hard on them because they need guidance, or should I give them some freedom because I don't want to lose them? You know, it's a hard decision. And no decision is probably not the right decision. But like, you can start with a place of trust, okay? And say, God, I know you're bigger than this. I know I can trust you with this. I'm not going to just lean in my own understanding. I'm going to submit my way to you. I'm going to acknowledge you in my parenting. I'm going to acknowledge you in my career choices. I'm going to acknowledge you in what school I pick. I'm going to acknowledge you in my dating choices. I'm going to acknowledge you in my financial choices. God, this is bigger than me. I trust you with this. I can't make the right decision. Number 2, ask. I know this is simple, right? But just stick with me. Ask, okay? So 2 things I need to ask for. One is wisdom and one is provision. Provision is not a word that we use a lot in modern American English. So I'm just going to give you the Jimmy version. Provision is when God provides what you need. Not more than what you need. I really think God wants to give you wisdom. But sometimes there are things that you can't control. There are variables that are outside of your influence. And you genuinely need God to provide something that you cannot provide. And so I think we should ask God for wisdom and provision. Like, God, will you please give me wisdom? But wisdom is not enough, because usually we're not strong enough to make sure the outcome turns out like it needs to. And so it's like, God, will you give me wisdom? And for whatever part of this I can't follow through in, I can't control, I can't produce the outcome, God, I'm going to ask you to make it good. Will you give me wisdom about whether I should take the job or not? And will you give me wisdom about whether I should date this person or not? But then I'm also going to ask you to help guide the steps through the process, because it's going to be complicated. I need your help. I need your help. I need your help in here, practically in my mind and in my heart, but I'm also going to need your help out there. I need wisdom and I need provision. And then G. Too easy, right? Let's go. Let's do something with it. Okay, how about this? If you were to start by trusting God and saying, this is bigger than me, I'm gonna take a posture of worship. I'm gonna take a posture of, I'm not God, you are God. Like, in all my ways, I'm gonna acknowledge you. If I start there, and then if you ask your heavenly Father, who gives good gifts, who is better than your earthly father, no matter how great your earthly father is, if you ask your heavenly Father for wisdom and provision after that, it's time to move forward. I'm not saying make the biggest decision of your life on the spot, but there's probably a step you can take. There's probably something you can do. Because I get to talk to people, and I talk to so many people, and I'm not going to pick on anybody, any group in particular, except for the young men. I'm picking on the young men. I talk to so many young men that are paralyzed by indecision. And it's like you need to figure out the next thing that you can do. And if you set that up in trust and in asking, then maybe you could take a small step. So here's where we're going to land on this, okay? This is the thing that maybe is going to surprise you, but I sincerely believe this is true, and hear me out. This is the reason I said I think maybe, as shocking as it is to hear a preacher say, sometimes we're too hung up on figuring out God's will for what we're supposed to do. Here's why. I believe God is more interested in how you make decisions than what decision you make. Because sometimes it's not a right or wrong decision. And sometimes, how about this? You can make the right decision from a position of arrogance, and it's going to turn out wrong. See, you could get the what right. Okay, I'm going to step in and I'm going to be a little more assertive in my kid's life. But you do it from a position of arrogance, and it's not going to work out. It was the right decision maybe, but you did it from the wrong mental space with the wrong how. Even if you make the right decision with the wrong pathway leading up to it, it's going to turn out wrong. And so here's what I think. And you say, well, sometimes in life there are right and wrong decisions. Let's say you're really struggling. Should I murder my next door neighbor who lets their dog poop on my lawn? Okay, and it's like, I've been thinking about this for years, and I just have not made up my mind. And if I did it, where would I put the body? And it's like, what would I do with them? And it's like, okay, so you would say, well, listen, the what is the important part. If you were to set the question up, should I murder my neighbor whose dog poops in my yard, by saying, God, this is bigger than me. I'm going to trust you with this, and I'm asking for your wisdom and your provision. I'm just telling you, you're going to end up at the right what. You're going to end up at the right what. But sometimes in life, there is no right what. You got to decide whether to take this job or to take that job. And it's not a right or a wrong. And I'm thoroughly convinced of this. There are many times in life where God doesn't care. He doesn't care which job you take. Just like today on the way home, I'm not saying he doesn't care about you. Hear me out. On the way home today, there's two different ways to get to your house from here, let's say. And you get to a stoplight. And you got to decide, do we go this way to get home or do we go this way to get home? Do you think God cares? I don't think, because listen, if God cared, that means that if you go left when God really wanted you to go right, you have messed up the entire trajectory of your life. Correct? And many times in life, there are decisions where I don't think God cares. You want to volunteer. Well, God, if you would show me a sign, would it be with kids or should I help at the soup kitchen, not with the church? I don't think God cares, to be honest. I think he cares way more about how you get to that decision than what decision you make, because if how you get to that decision looks like this: God, in all my ways, I'm going to acknowledge you. I'm not going to lean to my own understanding. I'm going to submit to you in every single way, and I'm going to trust you to open the paths and close the doors. God, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to say this is bigger than me. If I volunteer, listen, okay, ready? Serve at the soup kitchen. Okay, raise your hand if you think serving in the soup kitchen is God's will. Come on, stick your hands up. Come on. If you think serving poor, hurting, lonely people is God's will, raise your hand. Stick it up. Pick it up. This is not a robbery. Stick it up. Okay, good. It's the right decision. If you do that with motives that are mixed and are partly because you want to convince yourself that you are a good person, you can do the right thing for the wrong reason and God is not pleased. Okay? I'm not saying the what doesn't matter. Don't murder your neighbor, okay? Don't do it. Don't do it. But guys, I just want to take some pressure off of you that have got big decisions to make. And they've been weighing on you. And you've been so concerned that you're going to make the wrong what? You're going to make the wrong decision, and it's paralyzed you. And you've been indecisive about what you're going to do with this thing that's coming up, and you know it's coming up, or maybe you already should have made the call on it, and it's been weighing on you, and it's for good reason. You've been wanting to do the Lord's will, maybe even. That's just so awesome. And I think that is, I'm not trying to put that down at all. There is a lot of good in wanting to do the Lord's will. That's absolutely awesome. But the way you get there is not by God writing the answer in the sky. God wants to take you down a path. He's more interested in the how than the what, because if we get the how of decision making right, the what's will take care of itself. And here's the how. I'm just going to read it to you again. What if this was your how? Okay. We're out of time, but we're going to get you to say something. Y'all give me some big decisions in life that you got to make, because I ran out of examples. Y'all just tell me, like somebody just say one out loud, like decisive, like you want your endorphins to go up, okay? Because it makes you feel good to make a decision. Somebody say one out loud. Come on, we're going to finish quick. The quicker you talk, the quicker we finish. Y'all say something. Moving. Retiring. One more. I like 3. College. Moving. I hadn't done moving yet, so let's do moving, okay? Got a big decision to make about moving. Now, can I tell y'all the Lord's will for all of you in here? He wants you to stay all in Hartsville, okay? I'm just kidding. He wants you to stay. I'm just telling you. I just got a word from, I'm just kidding. I didn't get a word from the Lord. Okay, so you got a big decision about moving. You ready? Here's the practice. If you make the right decision out of fear, you make the right decision, but it's out of fear, it's probably not going to turn out well. If you make the right decision out of greed, you make the right decision, it's probably not going to turn out well. Can I tell you how you cannot miss? Can I give you some confidence that you cannot go wrong? What if I told you, this is how we're going to finish. What if I told you, you cannot lose? You cannot make the wrong decision. You cannot go left when you should have went right. You cannot miss, okay? You cannot miss. Here's how you cannot miss. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should stay here or if I should move. But when it comes to this, I'm going to trust the Lord with all my heart. And as much as different parts of my mind and heart tell me different things at different times, I'm not going to lean on my own understanding. In every single one of my decisions, I'm going to admit that it's not about me. And I'm going to acknowledge you. And I will ask you to give me the wisdom and provision I need so that the right paths open up along the way, and I will trust you with the outcomes. And as you lead me to take one small step at a time, Father, help me to take that small step, because I know that your will for my life is not for me to be an indecisive follower of Jesus that is somehow expecting the answer to be written in the clouds. And if I do that, in wisdom and in prayer, maybe even bringing other people into that process with you, just give yourself some grace and some mercy, because I don't see how you can make the wrong decision if that's your mindset. Just to leave, so that none of y'all get out of here. Some of the what's are important. Like Scripture is clear about some of the what's. Like thou shalt not lie. Thou shalt not steal. Jesus said, love your neighbor. Don't commit adultery. And all of us are guilty of different things that we've done. So I'm not putting that down or trying to put you down, but hear me out. If you go through that process of how to make decisions, you're not going to commit adultery. If you go through that process of how to make decisions, it's not going to end up at a place of you lying to people. If you go through that process of how to make decisions, okay, you're not going to end up hating other people, trying to hurt other people, or you're not going to go through that how and steal from people. It's just impossible. I'm not saying the what doesn't matter. I'm not saying the Lord doesn't have it. his will for your life. He does, but I'm just telling you, you have underestimated how important the how of making decisions is to God, and maybe overestimated how important the what is. If you get the how right, you can be decisive and go out in confidence knowing that you can't miss. And that's a great gift we ought to give each other as followers of Jesus. And I just want maybe those of you in the room that have had a big decision to make, that you've been forestalling, to go through that process and trust the how, and that you can't miss. You can't miss. Okay, leave with this. For some of you, that's been baptism, because I've talked to 2 people this week. This has been their story. I've been needing to do this for years, and at some point I thought about doing it to please my spouse, parents, children. Maybe it's the right decision for the wrong reason. Some of you have been putting it off out of fear, because I don't want to be in front of people. That's the wrong reason. I'm just telling you, you take any decision, whether it's about being baptized, whether it's about the job, whether it's about moving, whether it's about retiring, whether it's about college. Can everybody, we'll finish with this. Everybody take a big sigh of relief. No, seriously, are you ready? Everybody take a big sigh of relief. You ready? Can't miss. You cannot miss. You cannot miss. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Doesn't mean it's always going to be simple. But God is so interested in the how of how you make decisions that if you do it that way, things will fall into place. And at the very least, you will not make the wrong decision. And that will produce so much less anxiety in your life, which is where God wants us to live. Father, will you help us to trust you? That's really the holdback for me most of the time, is that I actually don't trust you as much as I should. Father, will you help us to trust you, that this is bigger than me, that I can't, if I will go through this how process, I can actually trust you. I can trust you, Father, even if it feels like I'm stepping out onto a ledge. If I do this, Father, you will see it through. I ask for wisdom. I ask for provision. Now, Father, help me to take a step in faith as you show me one small step at a time what I can do. Praying in Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys, if anybody here wants to meet about baptism, meet me down front and we'll talk through it really quickly. We'll see everybody else next week. Y'all have a great Sunday.